Now with internal audit, and Mark, if you could introduce yourself, your colleague, and then make whatever presentation you'd like to make.
I'm Mark Swan, the Metropolitan Auditor for the Metropolitan Government. To my right is Carlos Holt, the Internal Audit Manager, who's been a godsend to me ever since he came on almost 5 years ago almost now. And he's really been helpful with a lot of experience from the federal government, from the United States Marines, and provides most of our investigation work and handles all of that for us when we do have investigations, and does an excellent job in handling that discreetly and competently. And so I really feel thankful that he's here each day. It makes my job easier. But the Metropolitan Government of Nashville is an integral part, the Metropolitan Office of Internal Audit is an integral part of the governance and oversight for the Metropolitan Government, along with the Metropolitan Audit Committee. The Metropolitan Audit Committee receives the CAFR and the single audit and the management letter from our external auditors, Crossman & Associates, every year. In addition, they provide oversight for the Office of Internal Audit and approve the annual internal audit plan and modify it as needed. Over the past year, we've issued 17 internal audit reports along with 7 investigation reports. We also completed 10 hotel occupancy tax audits, reviewing over $26 million of the hotel revenue, with about $28,000 in additional claims. A sample of some of the audit subjects included the Hospital Authority revenue, the Metro Transit Authority procurement process, Public Works contract monitoring, general services, fuel management, compliance with Metro's ITS acceptable use policy, payments in lieu of taxes for the Nashville Electric Services, and the Public Health and Fire Department drug inventory management. And in addition to reviewing the owner insurance program for the Music City Convention Center project, along with many other projects. Out of the 86 entities identified in our audit universe, which is represented by the exhibit that I provided to you, we've covered about 55 of those entities in the past 5 years, or about 64%. The ones primarily not in the white area, most of those, the bigger areas are included in the plan for this year. And then the other areas, some of them may or may not be applicable to be looked at or lower risk. We try to have broad coverage. It's one of our #1 goals when we do our audit plan. So we want to be able to touch every department over a period of time. Ideally, that would be done in a 5-year cycle, which I'm used to in industrial, private sector experience. However, ours is probably closer to a 7-year cycle. But what also is to be known is that even higher risk areas, though, will be audited multiple times throughout that 5-year cycle. Like the schools, we're almost doing an audit there every year, if not 2. Police, Public Works, the large departments, we're going to hit more often in that area. So, you know, I'm very proud that we're able to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish with the resources that we've had. This would not happen without the dedication of the internal audit staff and their professionalism and their willingness to learn more about the Metropolitan Government and all of the different rules and policies for all the different agencies and authorities and the nuances that come along with the complexity of the Metropolitan Government. I do believe we have one of the more complex entities from a governance standpoint than what you would see outside in a private sector, which I think adds to the effort that it takes for us to audit on a day-to-day basis, because you have to have knowledge of a broad area of areas. I'm thankful that they're here each day and that they're helping Metro move in the right direction through our audit reports. We believe we were providing incremental value-added changes, and they're well received throughout our audit cycles. I also want to thank you and the Metropolitan Council for funding the pay raise from last year. I think that was a big help for the staff and for all of Metropolitan Government. I was concerned about going years after year after year about having any kind of increase that they could see on a long-term basis. So I thank you very much for that in this year's cycle. Additionally, I'd like to thank the Metropolitan Nashville Audit Committee for their support and their diligent oversight on a regular basis, and I appreciate their work. Mr. Riebling, Mr. Branning, Mr. Reed from Chamber of Commerce, Vice Mayor Neighbors, and Council Lady Dowell and Council Member Covert. And they rotate, some of the council members rotate in and out, but Mr. Branning and Mr. Reed have been serving as outside of the Metropolitan Government members for 14+ years, so I really do appreciate their experience and their knowledge that they provide each day on the audit committee. Overall, our reduction for 2% would be $22,000. We'll continue to be able to provide audit services with that reduction. Most likely we would pull that from our management consulting budget, which continues to be hit year after year, but we believe it's the right place to go. We obviously would like to have more funding as anybody else, but we can continue to work with the resources that are proposed. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer the question.
No, just a compliment. I think, you know, I obviously get the audits, and you know, you have done 17, and some were asked to be done pretty rapidly, I think, in response to questions that were being asked, and I think you've done a very, very good job. And I think the audit function is not one that gets a lot of attention, except when there's a news story that people are sort of paying attention, but it plays a critical role in the successful operation of the government. And you obviously were sort of present at the creation when the new system went into effect with the amendment to the charter, and I think it's got this thing up and running in a very professional way.
Actually, if you would, Mark, take a second, mostly for the viewing public, and talk about the independent function of how we do internal audit and sort of how the work product is governed. You mentioned the audit committee earlier, but I think it's important for the public to understand that you're sort of independent of the day-to-day function. So why don't you talk about that for a minute?
The charter has established an independent audit function for the metropolitan government. The big question is, what is the metropolitan government, as I stated before. But from the independent standpoint is that my office answers primarily to a committee which is set up through the charter, which by position Mr. Reebling as the Director of Finance, which will represent the executive branch, is on it. And then Vice Mayor Neighbors and 2 council members will represent the legislative branch. And then, in addition to that, we have a member from the Nashville Society of CPAs, which, in addition to that, a member from the Chamber of Commerce. Both of them are CPAs who provide accounting expertise along with Mr. Reebling's expertise to ensure that we do have the expertise we need on the audit committee. They answer to the citizens, sort of that perspective. So it is a little different sometimes. We always try to figure out who we work for on a day-to-day basis, but I work for the audit committee, and then we serve the management, the mayor, the elected officials, and all the different boards and agencies throughout the metropolitan government, and in addition to that, to the citizens. And so I believe we have a good independent structure. It's recognized by professional standards as an independent function, and the state law also has passed legislation to recognize our audit committee.
Rich?
Just to kind of piggyback on a question you asked me earlier, you mentioned the convention center project is coming to a close, the construction of it, and I think it'd be you know, one of the things when we started that project, I think you quickly identified that as being a target for the audit you want to do an ongoing series of different
we've done
audits, and I thought you might just, you know, again, you know, I think it's been obviously a little biased, but I think it's been a very successful project the way it's worked, and you've done a series of different looks at the audit from different the convention center project from aspects. I thought you might just let the public know sort of how you've looked at it and sort of the results of all those findings.
We've throughout the life cycle of the project, from at the beginning almost, kind of after the beginning, but we've been participating in incremental reviews of different aspects of risk that we considered. One of the things we hired a consultant, using our consulting budget, hired a consultant to do a risk assessment of looking at the contract where they thought the higher risk were. And we've been trying to attack some of those. A lot of the financial risk was transferred in the way the contracting instrument was created. So the metropolitan government's biggest risk is not delivering on time and not delivering the quality of the product. And I believe the authorities on a representative board with Mr. Adaman and staff, they're there to help protect and ensure that it is being delivered on time and being the quality that we've intended to have in place is there on the day-to-day basis, which I've rarely been involved in a project that had so many owner representatives to provide oversight. So that's, from a risk perspective, helped me feel more comfortable. In addition to that, there's been several political risks throughout the process that we've looked at along the way to help the board and for the public to be aware that we're not, I guess, subject to a lot of the rumors that were associated with. And one of the first things we looked at was for legal workers. And so we went and verified that I-9s were available for everybody on the certified payroll for a sample of at least 6 or 7 major contractors for the up front. And again, the insurance program that was supposed to be provided for every employee. So we made assurance that there was insurance for all those individuals, or they were provided by the company. We did a review of the cement contractor right up front to ensure that we were testing and they were actually doing the tests for stress testing the foundation of the facility. And one of the more recent areas we looked at was the owner insurance control program, ensuring that it was being managed. I'll give you another assurance. The insurance companies who are helping underwrite and manage that program, they're out auditing, making sure that every certified payroll and subcontractor for every hour worked made their payments into the owner insurance program. And it looks like it's going to be a very cost savings initiative that the authority took on. And so we continue to do that. More recently, I have an auditor. We hired a consultant from outside to come in and look at change orders, which is considered to probably be the top risk in it. And we kind of waited toward the end so we'd have a more collective view of change orders. But their initial response was they were very positive of the process that's being performed by the authority and reviewing and managing those change orders. So I feel comfortable. I haven't got their draft report yet, but I'm feeling positive that that's well. And so we're looking forward to the opening of the convention center.
What some of the work you do in-house with existing staff and some of it you outsource, how's that balance out percentage-wise? Any idea?
It's probably 90% of what our work is in-house.
Okay.
Probably 10. This last year we spent about 100. Yeah. We spent about 120,000 on outside consulting. We try to use them more for the more specific areas, technology areas, right, expertise, sure, and ITS. We brought a lot of several audits have been in for information technology services.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks for your service and good work, and appreciate the presentation.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.